So my presentation is entitled Integrating and Expanding Your Event Video Content, which hopefully is pretty self-explanatory what I'm trying to achieve here. Here's my rough agenda. I think we need to just establish a few definitions before we leap into it. Then we'll talk about what your aims might be as event organisers, what you're trying to achieve, and then we'll go on to how you might be able to do that, and then hopefully I'll be able to give you some ideas that you haven't thought of yet. You may well have done, and we'll talk about before, during and after, or pre-production, production and post-production, as we call it at First Sight Media, and then I'll just give you a bit of a roundup. So my first thing is a bit of a disclosure here. So I am very biased when it comes to video. So I own and run First Sight Media. We're a video production company. Alex, who you'll see behind you, is one of my team. We're filming all the stages here. So maybe just take what I say about how awesome video is with a pinch of salt, but I'll let you guys decide for yourselves when you've had a chance to play with it. So I mentioned definitions. So I think the term event is so broad and so vague that it can mean so many different things. This is all the things I could think of in 10 minutes that are events. So hopefully at least one of those will fit into everybody in this room and have a rough idea. So what I'm talking about will hopefully apply to that. So there are so many, whether it be a conference exhibition like this, or a webcast, or a webinar, or anything really, a music festival. The word event, I think, applies to all of those. And I think the aim of most events, and why you would embrace video, and why perhaps you're sitting in this audience listening to me, is you want to do, the most important thing you want to do is expand your audience. Now, you might call it, you want to get momentum, you might say you want traction, you want likes, you want retweets, you want more bums on seats, you want people to come to the next event, you want people to come tomorrow. Whatever that may be, the fundamentals, I think, are the same. No matter what your event, the fundamentals are you want to expand your audience in some way. Can we all agree that that's kind of what you're aiming for and why you would use video? I'll take your blind nods as yes. So why might you use video? Here's some stats. There's billions and billions of stats, and we all know that 72.4 stats are made up on the spot. But there's some really interesting ones here about retention rate of video. It's quite small on this screen, but I'll read a few of them out for you. So 95% of viewers who use video are more likely to remember a call to action after watching a video compared to 10% when reading text. So I think, and everyone's been, I assume most people at least, have been on Twitter and scrolled down and just videos start playing. There's nothing you can do about it, it just happens. And you might just engage with it just for a few seconds or something like that. But you're much more likely to remember that or remember that brand logo just having seen that in a video than you are having seen it buried in a load of text. Lots of interesting stuff there. And we all know that YouTube is the biggest search engine in the world and has 4 billion videos are viewed every day. There's some stat like 48 hours of video content are uploaded to YouTube every minute. Madness, right? We'll talk about how you can stand out from that rather crowded marketplace shortly. So lots of stats there. So how are you going to do that with video? Okay, well, the first point is content is king. So the more content that you have, the more likely you are to engage with an audience, and the more likely you are to hit someone on the head and get what they're up to you. But it's up to you to deliver that video. So it's all well and good, you know, a good video production company like us or anyone will happily create a video for you and upload it, but it's up to you guys to drive traffic to it. And if you're not pushing to it like you would with any other part of your event, so there's lots of presentations going on here at ETL today, and if the guys at ETL hadn't promoted them and you didn't know about them, you wouldn't be here, right? So it's exactly the same rule applies with your video. Don't just think by uploading it to Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or to your website that that's going to mean people are going to engage with it, because quite simply they won't, and you'll then think that video doesn't work for you. So you need to work hard at it like you would with anything. It needs to be part of your marketing strategy from the off. But also you need to be clear on your audience and your message. We'll talk about TED later, but think about the Simon Sinek Start with the Why. If you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to do so. Who's your audience and what message are you trying to give? That is the most important thing when creating a video, is that you know who you're targeting and what you're trying to say. What's your killer message, right? So First Sight Media's killer message might be that we can help you engage and expand your audience, which is why I'm here stood talking to you. But what's your killer message, and does it sew into your video? Is there a call to action at the end that says, this is my killer message and why you should engage with me as a brand or my event or whatever it might be? So be clear on your audience and your messaging, really important. Frequent is good, but focused is better. So I mentioned a moment ago about lots of content. That's great. And if you get lots of content, chances are you're going to fluke on something eventually. But focused content is much better. Make sure you've got a call to action at the end, like I say. Make sure that your message is appropriate to the audience that are watching it. Frequent is good, but focused is better. It doesn't have to be new. One of the great things about video is, well, one of the scary things about video might be that you don't know how it works and you've never used it before and you're scared of it. You think it costs a lot, all those sorts of things. It doesn't have to be a new idea in your marketing strategy. You can sew it in to complement your existing strategies. So, for example, those of you that attended yesterday, or those of you that are registered today, will have received an email yesterday from ETL talking about day one. Yeah? You will notice in that email there was a link to a video. That video that we produced yesterday, day one highlights. So what I'm saying is, people are much more likely to click on that video and watch it than they are to read copious amounts of text that they have to scroll through. So don't feel you need to reinvent the wheel with your marketing. If you want to take little steps, supplementing what you're doing is a great way to involve video in what you're doing. So the key thing in the bottom left-hand corner there, I probably shouldn't tell you, but it doesn't always have to be professionally recorded content. Okay, so you can create your own content. You can encourage your audience members to create their own content. Get them to put it using your hashtags. You can then you can like it, you can tweet it. They're then gonna, let's say for example, they come here, they film a little something, ETL tweets it, then someone else tweets it, someone else tweets it, and all of a sudden they got 500 likes. They're then gonna go, oh, that was a really good event, I got 500 likes from that. Wicked. Some people like that sort of thing. So doesn't always have to be professionally recorded. Think about tricks that you can use to steal other people's content. I don't mean steal, I mean embrace. So let's think about what you haven't thought of, right? So let's try and give you some practical examples. So we're gonna focus on before, during, and after, the three most obvious places that you can market to your audience. So let's start with before. So the great thing about a video before the event is it's a great way to set the tone and the emotion of your event. It's a great way to say, my event is going to be like this. Here is, and that's great if you've done it the year before and you've captured loads of content, or there is loads of content on social media that you can enjoy, because you can actually show them what it's going to look like. It's much easier to do that than it is to describe it. Oh, we're going to have an event and it's going to be, there's going to be lots of millennials there and it's going to be really fun and there's going to be yachts and there's going to be sea and there's going to be sand. It's going to be amazing. To actually show them that in a video is a great way to engage. So you can use explainer videos to that. That's a common way to do things. You can try using trailers and teasers and encouraging perhaps your speakers to do little clips of what they're going to be talking about. And reminders. Don't forget, our event is in 2 weeks' time. Don't forget, our event is tomorrow. And then I mentioned the scrolling through Twitter. When they're scrolling through that, that's going to pop up. They're going to see that, and they're going to go, oh yeah, I forgot that's tomorrow. That's great. Or I forgot that's in a week. I must rearrange something to get it done. And then there's the age-old promotional film, which is going to be our first example. The actual experience, you may or may not. Maybe we turn the audio. Thank you very much. You may or may know not what this video is. This is the Fire Festival promotional film. Okay, Cost them about 75 grand to make, and despite the £75,000 price tag of some of the tickets, it sold out. This video had 300 million impressions in 24 hours. And the reason why is because they knew their audience and they knew their message. So their audience was millennials. So what did they do? They put it on Instagram. Their target message was what apparently millennials want: glamour, expense, celebrities, this high life status. So they created a film that delivered exactly that, or at least suggested it was going to deliver that. Some of you might have seen the Netflix film that proves that they didn't do that. But that's the idea. They hired models, they got yachts, they mentioned the fact that it used to be Pablo Escobar's island. They went to town, they knew their market, they knew their message, they hit it on the head. And that's how they sold out. It's a 2-minute video, but we're not going to watch the whole thing. The next one is, I mentioned about explainer videos and the sort of ones that you see going through Twitter. Before I hit play on this, I want you to watch the first 5 frames, okay? Because this, you ready? This gets straight into its message, right? Official world record attempt. There is an official Guinness logo on there. This is an official attempt. They have set the tone straight away. We are doing an official Guinness record attempt. You should be watching it. It's exciting. It's not the most exciting thing. It's the 2018 downtown New Year's Eve in Dubai lights. It was very simple. It's only 27 seconds long, but it sets the tone in the first 2 seconds about what you can expect if you attend this event. It's got much less information, but it's just as clear as the Fire Festival one. This video had 600,000 impressions in 2 weeks in the run-up to New Year's Eve. Probably costs a good animator for a day, maybe 500 quid. Okay, so you don't have to be spending 50,000, 75,000 pounds on your pre-event promotional videos. And to prove that, here is one from the British Equine Veterinary Conference, which is one of First Light Media's customers. And they encouraged all their speakers to record a brief, what is it? I think we can call this budget. And essentially, this is Neil Tanzan talking about his dentistry, his equine dentistry presentation, right? It's right on my street too. But it does exactly what we want it to do. It sets the tone. You know what's going to happen. If you go to a Congress presentation with Neil Townsend, this is what it's going to be like. You get the idea, you get the sense. And they actually were delighted. They had 10,000 impressions in the 2 weeks in the run-up to Congress. This cost them exactly £0. Okay? So there's lots of ways. Think outside the box. Different things you can do to encourage people pre-event to engage with your event early. So then we move on to the good old during. This is generally a bit more obvious. Most of the people that I speak to have good ideas about what they can do during their event. They know the age-old classics, the opening video, the live stream, the highlights video. And so I'm not going to dwell too much on during, but opening video is one I want to talk about quickly. So for those of you that were at the Event Tech Awards last night, you may or may not recognize this film. Now, this is a film that we put together for them from user-generated content. So essentially, if you applied to the ETAs this year, you were encouraged to submit as an appendices a video of something you were doing. We've mashed them all together into this video. You can't hear it because the volume's turned down, but it's loud, it's bright, it's flashy, it's engaging. It instantly set the tone of the event. Thanks. So it essentially, everyone was chatting away. This event was ready to start. Rather than someone coming on stage and going, shh, we simply put this up, loud, flashy, turned all the lights down, everyone stopped, everyone watched it. And what's also good about this particular example is there are lots of people that were there that are in this film. So in addition to them stopping and watching, they also went, oh, that's me. So perhaps they therefore then engaged with it in a different way. Maybe they took a picture of it, they put it on social media, I've just found myself on the big screen, woohoo, that sort of thing. So this is from ETA last night, and it is perfectly timed, inadvertently, because I'm going to move to the next slide and it's just finished. The other obvious one is a highlights video, and here is yesterday's highlights video, produced by Rick, who was here a minute ago. And so this has got a very, you won't be able to hear it, but if you've seen it, or go on social media and you'll see it, it's got a really clear message. The last line is, come and see us tomorrow. So it's about getting people through the door here today. I defined the aim as in getting a larger audience. This is what that message is at the end. Okay? It's got lots of people in it that you see. I've already been through it, and I've tagged everybody that is either speaking or is really clear and obvious. I've tagged them, they've liked it, and it's just a way to get momentum going. If you've only got a one-day event, doing a highlights video in a day isn't necessarily worth the cost. But if you want to encourage people to next week or next month or next year or whenever your event might be, a highlights video is a really excellent way to do that when we talk about setting the tone. Okay, so that's during. I've not got anything. I didn't put anything in there about live streaming because I think we all know the benefits of live streaming. If you don't, I did a Event Industry News podcast on it. You can listen to that. One thing I say is don't just live stream for the sake of live streaming. And Past Me was really right. That's a really good piece of advice. Because just by clicking start on YouTube and streaming something doesn't mean people are going to engage with it. Okay? So, after. So the emotion you want to elicit from people watching video content after your event is surely, what did I miss? So let's show them, let's tell them what they missed. So recorded content is the most obvious thing. So you'll have noticed that the First Light Media team are at every stage here at ETL. We're filming all of them, they'll all be up on YouTube in the next few days. So all this content will be free for everybody to watch. It's a really obvious thing. It might not be the case, you might be doing a music festivals and it's more difficult to get music bands to agree to putting your stuff for free on YouTube. But you can also do pay-per-view, so that recorded content might be behind a paywall so that you can essentially generate a bit more income from it. Winner. The highlights video we've talked about to death already. But testimonial videos is a really great one as well. You're much more likely to get people to come to your event if someone is saying how good it was rather than you telling them it's going to be good. So that can be really simple. You can obviously get a good video production company to come and do it for you, or you can just get one of your team with their iPhone or whatever, just capturing, why are you here? Why is it good? Would you come again next year? The highlights video I've just shown you from ETL, that has all that sort of stuff in it as well. So it's good. And teaser videos. So if you've got recorded content behind a paywall, or if you've got a 2-hour presentation, snip it up. Chop it into little pieces and put those on social media channels or whatever so people know what they're going to get. Particularly if it's behind a paywall, they're not going to cough up their 20 quid or whatever it is if they don't know what they're going to get. I've mentioned this a few times now, set the tone. So little teaser videos are a great way to do that. So I've got one example for after. Hopefully everybody knows and recognises this brand. This is TED, who are the kings of recorded content. They have made recorded content into their business model. This is Kevin, who is from YouTube. This is a very interesting video on how to make your video viral, which I thought was appropriate for this talk. But there are some really good messages in it. I encourage you to watch it. But what TED have done is they've created a brand that is about sharing ideas, and it's anybody's idea that's been given a microphone. And it's a diverse range of everything. We actually do TEDx Exeter's conference down in Exeter in April, and we film and do all that. And they've had something like 30 million views in the 6 years that they've been doing it. It's crazy. Simon Sinek's talk that I mentioned earlier has had 47 million views in 7 years. 47 million views. And that's one of literally thousands, if not possibly millions of TED Talks. This is the double rainbow video. They talk about making viral videos, the double rainbow video. If you haven't seen it, Google it, it's very amusing. But it's established TED as a global brand, not only for this content, but as thought leaders. So, in summary, I could show you millions of different examples. I could actually use ETL as a complete case study for this entire presentation, but I've tried to make it a bit more vague and a bit more broad. But my key messages are video marketing is limitless. And I say that because you can do so many different things with it, and it can have so many different applications. You just need to think of what they are. So be brave and be creative with your ideas, but it doesn't have to replace the way in which you do things now. You can use it to supplement what you're doing now. We mentioned the email marketing and that kind of stuff. You can just have it to sow that seed and just... But the most important thing, if you're thinking about video and embracing video for your event, you have to think about it from day one. It has to be from the ground up, and you need to know what your message is, and your video should just be reinforcing those messages. Also, you need to budget it for it from the beginning. Now, I've mentioned lots of ways in which you can do stuff for free, but that might involve an extra member of your team coming from the office down to wherever your event is. So you need to make sure you budget for that, and you need to make sure that that person is available to do that. So however you spend your money, whether you're spending 75 grand on a fire video, or you're just getting an extra member of staff out from your office, you need to plan for it, and you need to budget for it. But, and I can't emphasize this enough, know your audience. Know your audience and know your message. Make sure the message you're giving to them is what they want to hear and how they want to hear it. So whether that be, and there's so many different things that you need to think about for that, what platform they go on. There used to be it used to be where a video went on your website and that was about as good as it would get. Now you can put it on Facebook, you can put it on Instagram, you can put it on YouTube, you can put it everywhere. So think about what the most appropriate platform is, and I generally recommend just do one platform and get the others to link to it. Some don't like that. Facebook don't like linking to YouTube, and Insta don't like linking to some of them. But try and have one focused thing, because it's much easier to measure. And measurement is the one line in this summary slide that I haven't mentioned at all. Make sure you measure what you're doing, and make sure you know what's working for you and what's not. And if you don't measure it, you're not going to. And you're just going to keep flogging the same old horse. And lastly, as I mentioned, frequent is good, but focused is better. Thank you very much. Any questions?